Well, good evening. My name is Inger Erickson. I'm a Deputy City Manager in Phoenix, and we want to welcome you to the budget hearing for the proposed final fiscal year of 2024-25 city budget. But before we begin, I want to introduce our interpreter, Mario Barajas, who will be here for today's hearing.
Thank you, Inger. Hello, my name is Mario Barajas. I'm going to be serving as tonight's Spanish interpreter for our Spanish-speaking residents. Now, I'm going to make a brief announcement for them. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Mario Barajas. Voy a estar sirviendo como el intérprete a los de habla hispana. Deseamos invitarles, si acaso necesitan intérprete, pueden pasar hacia la parte de atrás de aquí de la sala y pueden acudir ahí con el personal de la ciudad, particularmente Atena, y ella les podrá facilitar con los auriculares para escuchar la interpretación. Gracias. Thank you, Inger.
Thank you, Mario. Before we get started, I will invite the Councilwoman for District 4, Councilwoman Pastor, to have a few remarks.
Good evening. I'm glad we're getting this started early, right on time. Please forgive me if you want to speak with me and I stand away. I am coming down with something and I'm just protecting you from myself. So appreciate that everybody's here. Please speak your mind, even though you're going to hear some of the things about the budget. We do have needs within our community, so please say what you like to say. I encourage you in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Before we begin the comments, we will have a 2-minute video on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The Master Plan will define the community's vision and guide the department's direction for the next 10 years and beyond. The Parks and Recreation Department strongly encourages feedback from our residents, and you'll see how to do that on the screen here. So it's about a 2-minute long video.
Welcome to the City of Phoenix Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Phoenix Parks and Recreation is dedicated to making Phoenix a better place to live, visit, and play. In this video, we will be answering 3 basic questions. 1. What is a master plan? 2. What is the focus of Phoenix Parks and Recreation's master plan? And 3. How can you get involved? First, what is a master plan? A master plan develops a clear purpose for our department and the vision for recreation facilities, programs, and services for the next decade. A master plan provides an opportunity to receive quality feedback and have meaningful engagement from the community. The Phoenix Parks and Recreation Master Plan will start in fall of 2023 and last approximately 18 months. Second, what is the focus of this master plan? As part of our master plan, Phoenix Parks and Recreation will be evaluating and taking inventory of all existing parks, recreation programming, and facilities, with an emphasis on water conservation and crime prevention. We will also assess community demographics and recreation trends to ensure equitable access to programs and services, and will evaluate how the department prioritizes funding. Lastly, how can you get involved? A large part of the master plan depends on you and your feedback. Phoenix Parks and Recreation will host community workshops, send out surveys, attend community events, survey neighborhoods and parks facilities, and work with community groups to receive feedback about our parks and recreation amenities and services. It's crucial to have public feedback throughout the entire process because, after all, our department serves thousands of Phoenicians every day. Thank you for being part of this journey as we pave the way for the next decade of parks and recreation services, creating spaces for all.
Those from the community, I urge you to get involved in the master plan. The master plan basically sets what's going to go into your park or what is desirable to go into your park. And then what happens is then if it's in the master plan, then it's in the budget or it goes into a bond. So those that are wanting to see certain things in their parks, this is where you come in and you get involved and you give a voice to the master plan. For example, Falcon Park right now is getting renovated. What wasn't in the master plan that the community is now pushing for, because, you know, you do a master plan in advance and then things change and then, you know, little by little, the plan doesn't necessarily fall the way it's going to because community voices changes. They're asking for a splash pad and a skate park. And so I am telling them that's not in the plan right now of what the renovation is, but please come speak your voice and push for those items. So Shirley, this is a master plan. I want to see your voice all over it. So thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. I also want to introduce Aaron Mertz, who is with Budget and Research Department. If there's technical questions, he will be answering them, not me. All right, the feedback we received today is important as we finalize the proposed trial budget to present to the City Council. So your input may be heard and considered before the budget is approved. The proposed budget will be presented to City Council on May 7th and voted on May 21st. As presented to the City Council on February 27th and March 19th, the fiscal year 24-25 proposed general fund budget includes a one-time $80 million surplus. Unfortunately, due to state's actions to eliminate residential rental sales tax effective January of 2025 and to reduce the individual income tax rate to the current flat rate, deficits are projected in 25-26 and 26-27 fiscal years. Because the city is required to adopt a balanced budget, it is recommended to set aside the $80 million one-time surplus for so it may be help us balance 25-26 fiscal year budget. If you wish to speak at today's hearing on the proposed budget, fill out a card, and I think we have 4 or 5 cards currently. If you do not want to speak, but you want to leave a comment, you can do that and just check the box that you don't want to speak. Other ways to participate is through the Fund Phoenix tool. This online tool helps you provide direct feedback on the proposed budget and is available at Phoenix.gov/budget. We're going to hear a 5-minute video now on the proposed trial budget. The video includes information about the general obligation bond program that was voted on and approved by the voters on November 7th of 2023. Immediately after this video, we'll go to speaker comments. So with that, we'll play the video.
The general fund is made up of general sales tax, property taxes, revenue distributed by the state from income tax, sales tax, and vehicle tax, and some fines and fees. The general fund supports many of the core services our residents, visitors, and businesses have come to expect in Phoenix, including libraries, parks, senior and youth programs, and police and fire services. Enterprise funds include city departments that only charge the people who use their services directly, like water and sewer, airline passengers at Sky Harbor, and trash and recycling customers. Finally, special revenue funds earmarked for specific purposes, from grants and voter-approved sales taxes dedicated for parks and preserves, transportation, and public safety. That's how Phoenix gets its money. Now, how do we spend it? Phoenix has a long history of responsible budgeting, ensuring resources are balanced to projected expenses each fiscal year. A top priority of the City Council is to ensure the public can engage in the budget development process every year, giving the community a voice in the future of our city. Residents have multiple opportunities to provide their input ahead of final budget decision making scheduled for May 21st. Each year, departments work with budget and research to estimate costs to deliver existing programs and services, and staff forecast what resources will be available to pay for services. The city manager then proposes a trial budget in March that identifies how resources should best be allocated to ensure a balanced budget each fiscal year and to achieve city council and community priorities. Then we ask for your input at community budget hearings in April by using the Fund Phoenix interactive budget tool available in English and Spanish, or by contacting the city directly to ensure the budget reflects the priorities of our residents and city council. After receiving your input, the City Council will vote on the budget in May and legally adopt the budget in June. State law requires the city's budget to be balanced, and this year, the 2024-25 proposed budget includes a projected one-time general fund surplus of $80 million. However, the state legislative and executive branches recently made decisions that reduce the city's tax base. Senate Bill 1131 eliminates residential rental tax, and Senate Bill 1828 reduced individual income tax rates. The total general fund estimated impact in fiscal year 2024-25 24-25 is $54 million, and for fiscal year 25-26, $86 million from the state's actions. Due to the estimated ongoing revenue losses, city staff is projecting future deficits in fiscal years 2025-26 and 2026-27. And it is for this reason the city manager is proposing to set aside and reserve the $80 million one-time surplus to ensure future budgets can remain balanced and to preserve existing programs and services such as police and fire, parks, libraries, neighborhood and human services, and other essential community programs that can continue to be delivered to the community. We encourage you to provide your input in whatever way works best for you. You can use Fund Phoenix, an interactive budget tool in English and Spanish that lets you provide direct feedback on the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 general fund trial budget, or by email at budget.research@Phoenix.gov. You can comment to the city's social media pages at CityofPhoenixAZ on Facebook or on X using hashtag PHXBudget, or call us at 602-262-4800. The city manager will present his proposed budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 to Phoenix City Council on May 7th, 2024. The council's budget decision will take place on May 21st, 2024. All resident feedback will be shared with City Council so they may consider it before making final budget decisions. As a reminder, in November 2023, voters approved a $500 million general obligation bond program made up of 47 projects citywide. Projects include new and improved fire stations, parks, libraries, community and recreation centers, regional pools and splash pads, street and storm drain infrastructure improvements, projects for art facilities, and resources for affordable housing, renewable energy, and water efficiency projects. GeoBond projects are paid for with secondary property taxes, and projects are starting this summer. More information can be found online at Phoenix.gov/bond. Thank you for engaging in the budget process and helping build the Phoenix of tomorrow.
We'll go to our first.
Is your mic on?
Is Noah Wolodnik. And if you guys would please come up here because we've got a recording going on, and so we need you to speak at the microphone so people who are maybe watching this at a later time can hear you. And again, just a reminder, if Spanish interpretation is needed, Mario is here for that.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. First, I'd like to say thank you to the Deputy Budget and Research Director, Deputy City Manager, and Councilwoman Pastor, all their staff who are putting this together, and of course, you members of the community. My name is Noah Lodkin, and I work in this neighborhood. I'm a member of the United Phoenix Firefighters, Local 493, and I am a Phoenix firefighter. We are here to raise awareness for our Phoenix Fire Crisis Campaign. The fact that we are here shows how serious we are about this crisis and its dire consequences. Response times in Phoenix for ambulances are nearing a 9-minute average, which is much higher than the 5-minute national standard. It is these extra minutes and seconds that can be the difference of life or death for you or a loved one. In this neighborhood, the average response time for a Phoenix Fire ambulance is 9 minutes and 41 seconds. Two of the engines that are designed to respond in this area are Engine 18 and Engine 918, which each ran 4,500 calls in the year of 2023. This is considered an extra high workload. Personally, I'm here today because I'm new to Phoenix. Phoenix is my new home, and coming from another large city area where I worked in public safety, I saw ambulances with response times of 20, 30, 40 minutes, putting sick and injured people in the back of police cars just to get them to a hospital, which to me is frankly unacceptable, which is why I came here to work for Local 493 in the city of Phoenix, which has a great national reputation. And luckily, Local 493 is here, and we're showing support to get ahead of this early so we do not end up in a situation where things are a lot worse. To effectively decrease emergency response times, the Phoenix Fire Department needs more firefighters, paramedics, fire trucks, ambulances, and more fire stations. We ask that you support our elected leaders in adding these much-needed resources. Please visit PHXFireCrisis.com, PHXFireCrisis.com, for more information on our awareness campaign. Thank you for your time and your support.
Thank you. Our second speaker is Rebecca Dennis.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Denis. I'm actually I live in District 7, but I live right across from District 4, across from the Willow Historic District. I'm also here on behalf of a community organization I work with named Pull That in Action. For the last 5 years, we have worked directly with community members. We have done community surveys. We have hosted home meetings, and we've been talking with the community about the issues and the areas that they are saying need the most investment and where the resources have been lacking. We've spoken to tens of thousands of community members, actually, not just a few people or like people here and there. Like, we've been actively having the same conversations over and over and over. And right now, what people are saying are one of the most pressing issue is housing. It is what is going on with our unsheltered community and people that are homeless or unhoused. And so I'm here advocating on behalf of the Pueblo's budget. We created a community-led budget. It's a $450 million budget. It has larger programs on it, but I'm really here for 3 crucial items that we are demanding that the city invest in, that our community is saying are the most urgent at this time. We really want the city to increase the number of water fountains at parks and outside of City of Phoenix-owned buildings and spaces. And I wouldn't just say that we need to increase the water fountains, because we do, but we also have water fountains that don't work or they're not very functional, and that's an issue. And if we can't provide those basic resources in one of the hottest places in our nation, that is a severe issue. It's also a public health and a public safety concern. Last summer, we had 645 community members that died from heat across the valley. I just heard somebody from the fire department speak. I'm sure that they get a lot of calls in the summer that are related to heat and the deaths and the health issues that people have when they have no access to water or have no access to cooling stations or have no way to lower their body temperature. Oops, I'm sorry. The other demand that we want to ask for is, I believe the city might be working on this already, but we just really want to emphasize the importance of creating an emergency eviction legal services program. The rate of evictions that we have seen in the city, primarily that has a lot to do with the way that corporate management companies have been abusing housing and how they take advantage of people. They take advantage of the fact that people don't know their rights as tenants. They take advantage of the fact that people don't have access to legal counsel. And so part of the rise in homelessness and people that we see that are becoming unsheltered is less about an individual problem, and it's about these structural issues that exist. And I think that if people were able to fight these evictions, we would see less people on the streets. We would see more people be able to stay in their homes. And unfortunately, there's a gap right now. So we urgently need a right to counsel program for renters in the city. The last thing that we're really urging the city invest in is increasing the number of permanent supportive housing units for people who do not have housing and shelter. And I just want to emphasize, because I know that there is a program to build a shelter in Maryville, and I think it's about 250 beds from what I saw. But I think there's a difference between having a shelter that has a lot of barriers and having a shelter that's low barrier or has a housing first. There is housing first methods of ways of creating shelters or permanent housing solutions. And when I say low barriers, a lot of times people will not go to a shelter because they don't have an ID. They will not go to a shelter because they have a pet. They will not go to a shelter because of a lot of different reasons that you wouldn't think are a big deal, but for them, it's gonna keep them from accessing the resources that are available. And when people need somewhere to sleep and shower and eat and just use the restroom, like, those things should just be easily accessible for people. We are not gonna see people be able to get out of that cycle if their basic needs and their basic human dignity is not being met. I just want to say that cities don't get to this point because it just happens, right? The city of Phoenix, like a lot of cities across our country, there has been policy decisions that have allowed for inequities in our city to exist, and it's why we are where we are at right now, right? So when we have zoning issues or zoning laws that don't make it easy for people to access housing or for us to build shelters in certain areas, when redlining historically has been a barrier for people of color and communities to own houses historically, when we have a city council that chooses to invest in a deadly police department, that when we're talking about the unsheltered community and unhousing, we're investing money in police to criminalize and arrest these people just for them to go through a system and come back out on into the street. That's reactive. That's not proactive. It's not getting to the root of the problem, and it's not solving it. And so that's really what we're advocating for. As community members, at these other budget meetings, you will probably see a lot more people from my organization. I won't be the first person that you hear. But it is a tragedy that people are dying from lack of water, but it's also preventable. And that's why we're advocating this. We can prevent the amount of people that are going to become unsheltered, that are going to become homeless. And if they are in that circumstance, we need to be prepared for that. I know we are looking at budget cuts in the next couple years, and I know that right now an $80 million surplus and putting it in a savings account or a reserve is a great idea. And I think in most situations that would make sense if we weren't in such a moment of crisis right now. And I'm afraid that if we save that money for a rainy day rather than addressing the rainy day that exists right now, what we're going to see in the long term is even more devastation, even more people on the streets. We're going to have a bigger issue on our hands down the road than if we address it now and invest that money into the community now where it should go.
Thank you.
So yeah, I would just like
I have a question. You mentioned permanent housing, but then you talked about low barrier housing.
I think both are needed.
Okay.
So I think there's a difference between low barrier. I think there's, and also I'm not a housing expert, right? We work
Okay.
with other people in the community that
Okay.
are housing experts, but I just wanted to emphasize that there is people that I think are ready for permanent housing
Okay.
solutions. And then I think there are people that need low barrier
Right.
solutions and a lot more investment to be able to get to that point.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because they're two different
They are two
pieces.
different things.
So
And you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to confuse you.
I wanted to make sure that we knew that you're advocating for permanent housing and also low barrier shelter.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we go on, I just want to say thank you to all the staff that are here. There's staff from almost every department, if not every department. So if there's a question that maybe you want a little bit more information on, the staff can seek you out and kind of talk to you as well. All right. The next person, Philip Sharf.
Timing is everything. So my name is Philip Sharf. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Central Arizona Shelter Services, the largest and longest running homeless shelter in the state of Arizona. And we currently operate 2 shelters in the city of Phoenix and are opening a 3rd shelter this summer. And I'm really just here to offer my thanks to the city of Phoenix for our continued support for all that we do here at CAS, but also within the Office of Homeless Solutions. And I'm really just here to advocate for the continued influx of money into this space. As the previous speaker spoke about, there's certainly a huge demand. And we were started 40 years ago during the first crisis of homelessness in the city of Phoenix. And we were actually started by the fire department or because of the advocacy of the fire department. And so I think this is a full circle moment here in 2024 to continue to be advocating for the needs of our brothers and the firefighters, but also all of the people that are helping individuals that are facing homelessness or are on the verge of homelessness. So really just here to continue that advocacy. Appreciate everything that Phoenix has done for us in the past. I wouldn't take any more time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, John Walker.
Hi, good evening. My name is John Walker, and I'm here with my 9-year-old daughter, Evelyn, and I'm here on behalf of Phoenix spokespeople. I'm a founding member, and I'm here to ask for continued bike infrastructure in the city. To come over to this today, we went up 3rd Street, which has been a really remarkable street project that's included the separated bike lanes. My kids' schools, I have 2 other kids that I take to school on the bike every day, and we go on 3rd Street. So it's been really wonderful. So I just want to thank the city for that project. A lot of work is being done in Willow right now with 3rd and 5th Ave. So I think that's really exciting, and it's catering not just to the commuters, but also to the neighborhood and what they want. So I appreciate the city doing that. I favor ongoing improvements in streets and connectivity to allow families to ride their bikes safely. The perception of safety is really important, and 3rd Street has provided that. So when I ride it every day, I see more families. I see young people going to high school, riding bikes, e-bikes, scooters. So that's really encouraging. So I just wanted to thank the city for that and to please encourage that continuing. And it's something that the future generations can really take advantage of. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn.
I think I see you almost every day driving to work. Next, I'll get my bike out. All right. Next one. Yeah, that's a retirement thing. Zachary Holman.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to comment this evening. I'm a resident of District 4, and I wanted to comment on streets and advocate for continued funding. Thank you for the funding that you have put in, and ask for more, both for streets and also for light rail. So I live in District 4, and I get around locally, mostly by bicycle and as a pedestrian. Came up 3rd Avenue, really excited about the ongoing project. It's been a long time coming, and it's great to see it come to fruition. And we just need more of it. The city is very bikeable, and we're all pedestrians at one point in time during the day whenever we get out of our cars. And so I'd love to see more investment there. When I'm not getting around locally, I get to work on the light rail. I take the light rail to Tempe, and I have done for 10 years. And prior to COVID, it was quite a nice ride. The light rail ran on time. I could plus or minus 2 minutes, and it felt safe. And that really changed during COVID, and it hasn't fully recovered. And right now, the on-time performance is absolutely horrible, to the point that I'm regularly waiting for 30 minutes or 40 minutes for a train, to the point where when you're at a platform in Tempe, there's now a regular announcement that says, we can no longer predict when trains are coming thanks to traffic signals in Phoenix. I find that to be an interesting one. Tempe saying that it's traffic signals in Phoenix. I don't know what the truth is to that, but that is an announcement now made at the light rail station, just saying, hey, we can't take responsibility anymore for trains being on time. And that's really problematic. We have a great opportunity. Whenever I have to drive, I'm reminded that that's gotten quite awful. And taking the light rail absolutely should be the best option. And on good days it is. We just need to have more of those good days. It's important to make that investment so that more folks switch. It's not just about being on time. It's also about feeling safe on the train. Because there's no one to check when you're getting on the train, it means that anyone can walk on the train, unlike the bus, where the bus driver checks that you have a ticket before you get on. And so having folks that are checking for tickets regularly is important to feeling safe on the train. So thank you for your continued investment. I'd love to see more.
Thank you. I will make a comment regarding light rail. I am the chair of the light rail at Valley Metro, and on time. Right now, as you stated beforehand, pre-COVID, it was moving, rocking, we had a rhythm. COVID hit, and the rhythm kind of went away. Post-COVID, we're trying to get back to what we were pre-COVID. We don't have enough riders at this moment, and we're trying to move the ridership up to back to where it needs to be. It used to run every 10 minutes. Now it's running 12 to 15 minutes. So that is due to the fact that ridership and the timing of ridership, basically. That's how it's determined. Safety, I have worked very, very hard for the last, I've been on Valley Metro, I think 2 years, 2.5 maybe. 2.5 years, and have worked on safety pieces throughout my time period. We worked really hard this year with police on making sure that police are on our platforms, at least being visible. We have our safety, I can't remember what they're called right now. My head's foggy. We have our people on the platforms that go from different platforms to check for fares. They do face a lot of dynamics, and sometimes we need police on the platforms for enforcement purposes. So those are the challenges that we face, not only with light rail, but also with buses. I find it very unfortunate, and I will go back, or we'll probably text in a moment to say, how is the Tempe platform saying this about Phoenix? Because technically, light rail should be seamless, and each city should not be doing anything different. So I will go back and check on that. But you have a point. you have a point about the street lights, about the signals. There is a point on the signals because I have been advocating to look at the signals and to change, and the CEO from Valley Metro and I have been trying to push on the signals within the streets department, and that's where our challenge is. We have a new director, and so I'm hoping there's an understanding as to why it's important to have our signals timed the way they need to for light rail. But I'm probably saying way too much, and later on they're going to say, why did you say that? But I'm straightforward, so that's what you get in me. You either love it or like it. So I'm responding to that. So thank you.
All right, and our final speaker, unless there's more cards back in the back. Seeing none, this is our final speaker, Laura Sands.
Good evening. My name is Laura Sands. I live in District 4 in Willow neighborhood. I am a board member of Phoenix Spokespeople. I'm here every year talking about how important it is to provide safe streets for bicyclists. The project in Willow is coming along very nicely, as John acknowledged. And some concrete barriers went in today. Oh, it looks so beautiful. And why those concrete barriers are important to tie all these things together is because the perception of safety is so important, whether you're on the train or whether you're on your bike. And when you perceive that you're safe, you're more likely to use the thing that you feel safe about. And so when you're on your bike and you have a feeling of a barrier between you and the cars, that is a lovely feeling. And it's freeing. And being on your bike, it's a very social experience. If you don't get around town by bike, you should try it sometime, because you get to chat with the person you're biking with. You get to chat to the person who pulls up behind you on a bike, someone you've never met before. It's a feeling of community in a way that you don't get in a car. You just don't talk to the drivers next to you. Usually you're making hand gestures at the drivers next to you or like below the dash. So this connectivity is important. And the other thing that I would like for us to have, I would like for streets to focus on as they build their projects, is to make connections between the bike facilities that are being put in. So you don't get halfway to where you're going and the bike lane stops, or the really nice bike lane stops, and then all of a sudden all you have is paint and a car right there. So I live in Willow, I bike up 3rd Avenue all the time, and I would love to get to Osborne and turn left and get to Safeway or Sprouts. It's only 4 blocks away, and I can't get there safely on my bike. And that's really unfortunate. That it's safer for me to get to Fry's downtown than to get to the Sprouts, which should be my neighborhood grocery store. So I would really appreciate it if the city would focus more on connecting the facilities that we're already investing in and in hardening the facilities that we have, more flexible posts, more concrete barriers, so we can have more people on bicycles. Like, not just John's children. My dad gave up his truck this year, he's 80, but he gets everywhere on bike unless he's on the train or the bus or on foot. And we need streets that are safe for 8 to 80. That's a thing that's said in urban circles. So my dad is one of those. I want him to be safe on his bike. I want him to be able to get around town just like I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Again,
Thank you, Laura. I'm sure you were part of, if you're part of my email or my newsletter blast, I'm sure you were part of the meeting where there was a survey regarding Earl, from Earl to Osborne. Was it 5th Avenue? 3rd Avenue. See, I get them. I have to think. 3rd Avenue, and so that should be coming. It was in favor of putting the bike lanes and putting in the barriers that are needed. So that should be, those results should be coming out. I'm speaking early, and then see what our next steps are. So that's what I want to say about that. I'm an advocate of bike lanes, but I'm not an advocate of no protection. So I want to see protection. I don't want to see the plastic cones, because to me that's not being protective. So I'm an advocate, if we're going to put a bike lane in District 4, once again it goes back to streets, we need to put a concrete barrier. And that's just where I am now. And so they'll come and say, we want to put a bike lane here. And I was like, is there a concrete barrier to protect them? Because I'm not going to put somebody on the street that we can't protect. Because at the end of the day, I think we're responsible and we should be held liable for it. So that's how I view that. Are there any more questions? Because then I'm going to go into my wrap up and we got to go home early. None? All right. First of all, I want to thank all the departments that are here. All these departments, we work from all hours of the day and night. And so it's nice to have the departments here, but they also have families. And so I just want to thank and have gratitude for you guys being here. I especially want to thank the communications department, because all this wouldn't happen without the communications department. Everything you see is so seamless, but they're the ones that come out and make sure it's happening. I can't remember how many. I want to say there's over 10 budget hearings that are going to go on. And so I'm thankful for them, because they're here doing it and making me look pretty, I guess. Fire, I hear you, I understand you. We did do a bond. That bond did pass. Then my next question after the bond, and this is for the constituents that understand what's going on, how are we gonna hire those for those new stations? So that's why I would say Fire's out here advocating, because we need to put bodies in those new stations once they're built. And we need to have the revenue to be able to fill them. So I'm just speaking out as for them and understand the need. Our response time, I was gonna do this and thought about it, and I will be quiet. Sometimes silence is good and sometimes silence is scary. Well, those 9 seconds was silence of waiting for a firefighter to show up. So our response times are definitely needed, and they are wanted. And so I advocate for the firefighters. Secondly, there's no way we shouldn't have cooling centers and we shouldn't have fountains that are cool. At 120, and we're starting to heat up, and right now, as you can see, I have Gatorade, water, you name it, just to hydrate myself and keep me hydrated. That's very difficult when there's no fountains out in the areas to be able to drink water and to hydrate ourselves. I'm one that has to watch myself in the heat, even though I'm a native. I have to watch myself in the heat because my body doesn't cool down, and all of a sudden I'll start to overheat and I will break out in hives, which then means I can choke from a hive. There was one point in time where I had to have an EpiPen with me at all times because of the heat and how my body reacts. When it's humid here, and that's why I don't live in a humid state. When it's humid here, my body even reacts very differently. So understanding what the need of the cooling centers, each one of us probably would like a cooling center next to us. And I think we need to really do a better job of making sure our fountains are working and functioning. So my request in this whole budget thing is to make sure the fountains that we do have, that we have an inventory of those that are not working and getting them to function and actually be cool. But I also hear about the additional cooling. Housing is a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for quite some time, and the unsheltered is going to be a challenge for quite some time. Until we figure out the cycle of how we keep people in a home and in a job and be able to have the basic needs of food, and also have the behavioral health if something is going on in the mental health, and be able to have access to whatever medicine is needed. We are going to continue to struggle with the unsheltered population. We are on a border of a verge or on an edge of more population to become unsheltered due to the fact of us being priced out, the wages not at the level that they should be in order to maintain just a living or basic living and having a house. That's just the cycle. And the more we put pressure onto the system, the more pressure it's going to go like this. So until we figure it out, it's a collective. It's not just an elective, but it's a collective all the way in governments. City can only do so much. I feel like there's some responsibility from the state, the county, and even the federal. And so it's just something that I feel it locally because it's so local to us that we try to figure it out, and we've done a good job, I would say, with our ARPA dollars in making it happen. But we will face a crisis. It's coming. 25-26 is where we're going to see it the most, and we're going to feel it the most. That's why they're asking to reserve the money, because to be able to reserve the money for 24-25. I'm of the mindset of if there are needs this moment, then we need to be able to provide for our needs. But then if I say I would like to spend this much money from the budget, that means there's going to be a shortfall next year. So what that means, if there's a shortfall, that means jobs will be lost, programs will be lost, and services will be lost. So then I say I don't want to have services lost, I don't want programs lost, I want to continue these departments because they're making an impact in our community. Then the next conversation is a tax. And that will be the difficult conversation that we will have coming in several months, in the next 9 months. Beware of that. I'm not saying beware to be scared, but I'm going to come back out and say, I need you to help lift me in order to get this tax through. So it's a cycle once again, and it's the way our system is set up. Then we're also going to face our enterprise departments. Our enterprise departments, our salaries are going up, inflation is going up. We're going to need to replace equipment that has gone up, so that's going to be another conversation that we'll have. I happen to be fortunate, say yay or nay, but I'm in my last term, and so I'm willing to do and take the risk that is needed in order to lead, to make sure our state is where it needs to be and our city needs to be in order to continue to provide the services. Some of my colleagues will be upset at me, but that's okay. And so I would say emergency evictions, it's once again, it's all into how it moves. But yes, I agree with you because after dealing with the trailer parks and understanding the dynamics that goes on and the mental peace psychologically that happens within families, that I went home at night thinking, how am I going to save this family? The pressure also comes on me, and I take it in. People don't realize that, but we internally as electives do take a lot of problems in and are just trying to figure out how we're going to make it happen and be able to help in a way that the families can't at that moment. So emergency eviction, I believe in that. And safety, Evelyn, I think you're precious, and I want to make sure you have a safe city and be able to ride your bike wherever you want. So I will try to do that. I need to speak with 8 other people to help me, but I think they're willing to do that. And you just need to show up at our council meetings and say, we need safety within our neighborhood, and I want to bike where I want to bike. Okay, Evelyn? I believe in you. And I answered all the other questions. One of the last things, as we were talking about the park master plan, those of you that live in District 4, I would like to see a Steele Indian Park master plan because on our corridor, we're being built out. And I would like to see how we can activate our park even to a whole nother level with engaging what's going to be built. So, any questions for me? I see none. Go home, eat dinner, enjoy your family. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.